Hello, and welcome to the Amazon Web Services Partner Webinar Series. Our topic today features how to transform your enterprise search and eDiscovery on the AWS cloud. I'm your host, Sherry Sullivan. I'm here with the partner marketing team in Seattle, and I'd like to welcome you today. I'd like to start with just a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording today's webinar, and while your lines are muted, we do invite you to submit your questions anytime during this webcast. We'll take a few moments at the close to address some questions. I'd also like to let folks know that we do make the content available. You'll get a link post-recording for on-demand viewing, as well as we post this content up on SlideShare and YouTube. I'm pleased to be joined today by Todd Cole, who's the Vice President of Technical Operations with X1, who is an AWS technology partner, as well as Eric Kolosko, who is the Vice President of LTech, who is an AWS consulting partner, along with Vikram Garbalotti, who is a manager of our solutions architects here at Amazon Web Services. Today we'll begin with just an overview of AWS for folks that aren't familiar, and we'll talk a little bit about Amazon Cloud Search, followed by LTech and X1, providing some benefits and features of search and eDiscovery on AWS. And they'll share some customer use cases as well. And as I said, we'll wrap up with just a few moments of Q&A. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome Todd Cole, Eric Kolosko, and Vikram Garbalotti. Vikram, if you'd like to take it away.
Thank you, Sherry. So this is Vikram, and I would like to spend a few minutes before we get into more deeper into the X1 and in eDiscovery product details. I would like to talk about Amazon Web Services and how enterprises use them today, and basically touch upon what are the fundamental building blocks that the customers and partners are using to build their products on top of and deploy their products on top of AWS. And then give a little bit of introduction about cloud search and where it fits and what kind of use cases that it can fit into, and then going into X1, which is more of an enterprise scenario. So with that, how enterprises are using AWS today? Basically to augment the IT capacity they run in their own data center with capabilities like disaster recovery, flexible test and dev environments for bursting and spiky workloads. Two, they would like to move existing workloads from their own data center into cloud. And then the third option is to build out an entirely new set of projects, applications, web applications, services, a whole new business line applications. Those are fundamentally three different ways that enterprises are typically using AWS today. So what is AWS? This is a very simple set of services that we offer. We'll drill deeper into each one of these boxes in the next few slides. But at the bottom, we basically have the global infrastructure footprint. At the core, we have our compute, storage, and data services, which is basically the heart of our offering. And then we surround these offerings with a range of supporting components like management tools, networking services, application argument services, what we call as glue services like SNS, SQS, and simple workflow, and so on. And all these services are all hosted within our global data center footprint that allows customers to consume services without having to build out facilities or bring in equipment. So what makes it compelling to use AWS, and why do enterprises choose to use AWS? And we'll discuss some of the key benefits. I'll touch upon some of these very quickly here. The first main thing is no upfront investment and pay only for the infrastructure as you need it. With the traditional infrastructure, you have to guess how much capacity you need over the next 3 to 5 years for your business and pay for most of it or all of it today as a capital expenditure on day one. And this ties up money that you could be spending on business or other things that you would like to do for your business. And it's very difficult to forecast accurately over such a long period of time. And so with AWS, you only pay for what you need and what you use and when you need it. Low ongoing costs, obviously, since we invest and operate such a huge scale, we pay very less per unit than most anybody else in the IT industry. We run our business on a high volume and a low margin basis, which is also quite unique for Amazon, being in the retail space as well. The combination of high scale and low margins allows us to pass those significant savings to customers. And if you look at our history in the last 2 years, we have reduced prices multiple times on the compute and storage services as well. Flexible capacity, with the elasticity on AWS, you no longer need to forecast the demand and buy upfront. You get the ability to scale and meet the needs of the spiky workloads as they come, whether you're month-end payroll processing jobs or your holiday workloads. If you're an e-commerce business, every business has these peaks and lows, and you'll be able to meet up with that demand based on the flexible capacity that you can use on AWS. Speed and agility. With traditional IT, it can take weeks to get servers procured, delivered, and up and running. These long timelines stifle innovation. With cloud computing, you can provision these resources as you need them. Applications and not operations is another big thing. So racking and stacking gear in data center just doesn't help you over competition. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and becomes a big distraction for businesses from activities that can truly differentiate them. So AWS enables you shift resources away from data center investments and operations and move them into innovating new projects, making new investments in different areas, and so on. So you can have your IT and engineering resources focus on projects that help grow your business instead of having them to focus on the underlying infrastructure and trying to manage these applications and work with, and spend time on operations per se. Finally, the very important aspect of AWS is the global reach. Right? You are familiar once you get familiar with working with one region with the web services infrastructure, you're using the same platform, same services infrastructure to launch resources across the globe. And we have invested in the facilities around the world. So we can offer you the global reach at a moment's notice, and it's very cost prohibitive to put your own data center where all your customers are. But with AWS, you get the benefit. Our global infrastructure footprint is with 9 regions, 25 availability zones, and we are continuously expanding so our customers can leverage the regions and availability zones. Along with these, we also have edge locations for CloudFront distribution service, which are not represented on this map here, but we keep building those, and there are quite a few of them that customers can leverage today. So what are customers running on AWS? In the business applications, obviously, we have customers running and deploying Oracle databases, Oracle business applications, SAP. We have customers using Microsoft CRM, Microsoft SharePoint, SQL Server, obviously, and a lot of business applications in that space, IBM. So customers are deploying these applications in hybrid environments or completely deploying them in the AWS environments to utilize the cloud infrastructure. Customers are also deploying customer-facing web applications that power e-commerce, mobile, gaming, social media. Customers are bringing in their data into AWS environment and running big data and Hadoop clusters and high-performance computing workloads for medical imaging, genome sequencing, and analytics type solutions. So there are a lot of options there in terms of what customers choose to build and run on top of AWS platform. A quick look at the platform in itself. So we have the global infrastructure at the bottom. Again, we talked about regions and availability zones and edge locations for CloudFront. We have the foundation services, which are mainly the EC2 and some of the storage services like S3, EBS, which is our block store, networking services and application services on top of it. And then finally the interface layer, which is how you interact with our services, either through the API or the console, or a lot of other products that are built as IDEs in development environments and so on. And we also have deployment management tools like CloudFormation that could help automate some of the deployment processes as well. Cool. So the focus is on hybrid solutions. We have customers obviously start out with on-premises data centers. We have lots of customers who have their on-premises data centers running their business applications and want to extend into the cloud AWS cloud environment. And there are quite a few options in this space. We have we provide you with VPC, virtual private cloud environment, that you can connect into using VPN. We provide you a direct connect service to be able to connect to the cloud environment from your on-premises data centers. So you can run your applications in an integrated environment, have the applications distributed between your on-premises data centers and cloud as well. I just want to quickly touch upon the cloud search. Basically, cloud search is fully managed service in the AWS cloud that allows customers to integrate fast and highly scalable search functionality into their applications. And it's very easy to set up. It's easy to operate, easy to integrate, and it's cost efficient as well. But obviously there are certain use cases that you look at deploying cloud search. We can talk about some of those here. Easy to operate. With few clicks in console, developers simply create a search domain, upload the data they want to make searchable to cloud search, and then search service then automatically provisions the technology resources required and deploys a highly tuned search index for you to be able to use. Simply point to the sample set of data. Cloud search automatically proposes a list of index fields and a suggested configuration to be able to use it with the querying interface. Easy to integrate. Obviously, the search domain, you simply provide a name for the search domain, and then we have the search service handles the search request for the domain, and every domain has a unique search HTTP endpoint that you can integrate into your applications. And then the document service makes changes to a domain searchable data. Every domain has unique document service HTTP endpoint, and when you send data to your domain, it is automatically indexed and changes are made searchable in real time. And then we have some command line tools and consoles to interface, and obviously the services API to interface with the document service along with the load balancing. The configuration service enables you to create and configure search domains, and each domain encapsulates a collection of data that you want to search. And finally, the cloud search provides the rich query language that enables you to search within particular fields, perform complex Boolean searches, retrieve facet information, and so on. On the autoscaling, as a managed service, Amazon Cloud Search determines the size and number of search instances required to deliver the low latency and high throughput search performance, and depending on the data. And when you upload your data and configure your index, Cloud Search builds an index and picks up the appropriate initial search instance type to ensure that your index can be stored in memory. And as your data and volumes grows, Cloud Search will scale your search domain to a larger instance type. So it's kind of a managed service behind the scenes based on the data volume. The search instance is upgraded to fit the business need there. So just to recap, create a search domain, identify a use case in supporting data. The important use case that I can think of is, if you're building like a web application or a simple application that needs to interface with search data, or you have a bunch of data that you can upload into S3 and build an application to interface with, these are some of the best use cases that you can quickly bootstrap and start using our managed search service, which is Cloud Search. So we have some more information on the website to be able to look at on the pricing and capabilities of the Cloud Search and so on. With that, I would like to introduce you to X1 and LTech. X1 is one of the products readily available to deploy on AWS Cloud for eDiscovery use cases. And X1 provides a deep integration with document management products like SharePoint for eDiscovery, search, and review of data that is sitting in SharePoint. So I'd like to learn more about the product as well from Todd. And LTech is one of our consulting partners who have deployed multiple AWS projects. So with that, I'd like to pass it on to Todd and Eric.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. This is Eric Klotzko from LTech. Thank you all for joining today, and thank you, Vikram, for the introduction to AWS infrastructure and cloud search. Who is LTech? LTech was founded in 2001, and we are primarily a cloud enablement company that enables and brings companies that are looking to harness the strength of the cloud to their organization. We have nearly a decade of experience implementing enterprise search and eDiscovery for a wide spectrum of industries and institution sizes, ranging from financial, insurance, government, retail, employment data, things of that nature. We've been an AWS partner since 2009, and we are also an X1 partner. So that gives us a very unique vantage point from the standpoint of understanding how to implement the architecture of AWS, as well as how to install, configure, and get the most out of the X1 Rapid Discovery tool. So I think that puts us in an interesting place. In addition to that, we have a strong development arm, and that assists us in building tool sets that can be placed downstream of tools such as Cloud Search and X1 Rapid Discovery for cases where eDiscovery is being used, for example, to determine whether or not a organization has information that is available and on their AWS footprint that either for regulatory requirement reasons should be purged or perhaps archived. Those are some use cases where we can put some tools in place downstream to recognize information coming out of those search tools to implement that. In addition, we're also a Google Premier Enterprise partner since 2007. And LTech, we work with customers every day to help them get to the cloud, realize the benefits of the cloud, transition from rack metal environments, and we see a need consistently that companies have already realized with the data sprawl that they're encountering in a rack metal environment, that because they move into the cloud and realize those benefits, that the requirement for enterprise search and eDiscovery certainly doesn't go away because the infrastructure moves to AWS. So as that data continues to sprawl, we're eager to be able to collaborate with customers and help them raise the efficiency of their resources by being able to get to their information more expeditiously. I think you'll find Todd's presentation with respect to the X1 Discovery Rapid Discovery tool quite compelling. So Todd, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Eric. So who is X1? X1 was founded by Idealab, a startup incubator here in Pasadena, and they've started over 100 companies, including GoTo, which became Overture, CitySearch, Picasa, and more. Obviously, X1 is in that group. And we're really focused on providing enterprise search and eDiscovery to our customers no matter where that resides, whether that's social media, the enterprise, or the cloud. So obviously we've got a cloud focus. The whole focus of this presentation is the cloud and Amazon Web Services. And we partnered with Amazon Web Services because they were such a great provider of cloud technologies. And we saw a need for individuals to be able to search their data, enterprise search, eDiscovery for the data that they have up in the cloud. We have an AMI available today. You can go to aws.amazon.com/AMIs or AMIS and download it. You can use it. Right now we use a bring your own license. So get a license, contact one of our salesmen, and you can get started. You might already recognize the name X1. We do have a desktop search product, and that's really where we began. We had a real big release in the last month on that as well. But the focus of this webinar is our X1 Rapid Discovery product and how we've integrated with Amazon Web Services to provide that product up in the cloud. But the desktop search product as well can connect up to data that you've got indexed with X1 Rapid Discovery. So you can search both your local files and you can search data that you have in the cloud. And I'll show that a little bit at the end. So I wanted to touch briefly on this question of search and what we're providing search for and what the solutions are available in AWS. Search today is ubiquitous. Users expect it pretty much anywhere they go. They expect it in their email clients. They expect to be able to search websites, e-commerce sites, and so on. And there's a number of different use cases of search. So let's briefly talk about the differences and the advantages of cloud search and the advantages of X1 Rapid Discovery. Both products, Cloud Search and X1 Rapid Discovery, offer keyword search, are very quick to deploy, and have very low cost for startup. The benefits and the features of Cloud Search are, if you're already controlling the data and you want to put it in an index, you have data maybe in a database that you want to push in, some back-end data that you want to provide to your end users. That's something Cloud Search can do better than I think anything else on the market, and definitely at a lower cost point. Lets you control the custom metadata that you might want to assign to the items that you're indexing. They can auto-scale very easily and very rapidly on their software as a service platform, so you don't even need to be worried or concerned about that. And Vikram showed that earlier in a slide. They have an ability for you to get started and get running a test case very small and inexpensively. Maybe not for the cost of a cup of coffee, but I think you could probably get a pretty easy test case done for the cost of maybe a caramel macchiato. So, it's really low barrier to entry there. When it comes to X1 Rapid Discovery, we're focused more on your advanced enterprise search data and eDiscovery data as well. And we want it to work for you right outside the box. So we have pre-installed connectors for you for Exchange, SharePoint, PST, and more. We have a rich default UI that you'll see. I'm going to do a demo at the end of my slides, and you'll see the UI there. But really easy for your end users to use. Designed for designed for everyone, both the administrators and the end users, to configure via web. We provide support for both advanced enterprise search and eDiscovery, and some of those features are real-time tagging, reporting, and some eDiscovery workflow. The tagging, I think we're unique in the industry in offering effectively instantaneous tagging. Again, I'll demonstrate that in the demo. We provide some prepackaged document filters. We support over 500 file types. So if you've got some legacy files or systems that you need to index and search, we can definitely support that. And this is all being done in an infrastructure as a service platform. So you control the data that you have. You have data already up in Amazon. We don't want to take custody of that data, and we don't want to have access to the index that you create based on that data. You own the data. You run our software alongside of your data. You run it within your own EC2 instances, and so therefore you control the index as well. Obviously, if you are in a consulting agreement, an arrangement, you can provide access to those EC2 instances to your consultants, to say LTech or X1, to come in and monitor and maybe troubleshoot or tune up your performance. So, what are some of these challenges that we have with eDiscovery and advanced enterprise search in the cloud? Nothing about eDiscovery or enterprise search is necessarily easy, but when legacy solutions try and stuff their offering up in the cloud, that doesn't magically become easy either. So there's some core tenets you have to meet in order to truly say that you are a cloud product. Obviously, being cloud deployable is one of them. You need to be able to act on the data in place without first exporting it kind of en masse somewhere else. That would really negate the benefits of the cloud. You want to deploy the tools to where the data resides in the cloud. If you have to ship the data to, say, a service provider or do some extensive manual labor to load and configure the system, you're not really a cloud offering. And if you show up with a truckload of physical appliances and have to ask where the loading dock is, you're going to get laughed out the door. You have to support virtualization. The product is going to need to immediately and rapidly install. It needs to execute and efficiently operate in a virtualized environment, and that's all without rigid hardware requirements or on-site physical access. So if you have a solution fused to hardware appliances or complex on-site install processes, that's just not going to fly. And if your product is burdensomely integrated with third-party databases or other OEM technologies that can't easily be decoupled or frankly don't allow for cloud deployment, you're not going to be able to physically or even legally deploy in the cloud. And then you need to support parallelization. The benefit of cloud computing is primarily accomplished by parallelizing your software architecture and allowing you to spread your computation cycles across a number of virtual machines. So if you've got a solution that's developed and configured around a monolithic processing scheme, that's not going to work. you need that highly distributed processing across a multitude of servers. So what we've done is via partnership with LTech, we're offering X1 Rapid Discovery. And some of the advantages of our solution is we are cloud deployable and optimized. We run on EC2. We run with virtual private clouds or VPC and with EBS or elastic block storage. So we truly take advantage of the technology that AWS offers. We install remotely in a matter of minutes. Our install process can be complete in 5 minutes, and we can get data indexing immediately after that. And you can be looking at your first few search results in 10 minutes from start to find. Of course, now a larger data set is going to take longer to index, but you don't have to wait for everything to be indexed to start using the system. So we deploy our solution right next to your data, where it resides, and open up your information by providing search via the cloud. As I mentioned, we can scale across multiple EC2 instances. We have a clustering technology that allows you to deploy our software on multiple EC2 instances and cluster them together to take advantage of all that horsepower and spread the computing load across all that. We're designed, obviously, you can install, configure, and maintain it on your own, but if you want to, you can optionally provide access to that to LTech or X1 to come in and maybe perform some maintenance or configuration or tuning, and then you can turn off that access when you want, because we understand that this is your enterprise data. This might be data referring to a lawsuit. We want you to understand that both your data and your index are yours, and they're under your control. And then last, we have a really simple and quick UI for your end users. Open source software is great. Lucene is a great search index engine, but there's a difference between using a component and using a fully developed software package, and that's what X1 tried to do, is create a full software package that comes with a robust interface, automated administrative tasks, and the ability to instantaneously apply tags, annotations to items in index, and identify key items that you have to export out of your data repository for archiving or maybe for follow-on action with another system. And again, this is all done with a web UI. So let's talk about a number of case scenarios. The first one is we had a Fortune 500 company who had 3 terabytes of enterprise data. And that comprised file shares, SharePoint, PST files, all located in Amazon on EC2 instances. They had an urgent internal compliance investigation that just kicked off, and they had needs to get that stuff evaluated as soon as possible. And they had neither the desire nor the time to pull that data out of the cloud. So within 3 days of initial talks with X1, they were running a proof of concept, and based on that, they installed X1 Rapid Discovery within their own virtual private cloud, within their Amazon Web Service account, and installed it where the data was already located, and indexed that data within 24 hours. And their staff was able to use the user-friendly interface to perform iterative keyword searches and faceted filtering to identify a small subset of the total collection of documents that was relevant for their investigation. The reviewers were able to do everything required from the web console, and all of this was done within their instance of AWS within the cloud, without having to first export the raw files and saving them weeks of time and tens of thousands of dollars in review expenses. And at the end of it, they identified about 20 gigabytes out of of critical results out of the total initial 3 terabytes. Again, all of that done within the cloud. So another use case to talk about, or case scenario that I can present, is this one's a little more enterprise-centric. We had a company with 20 terabytes of unmanaged user content. They were looking at Microsoft Office documents, loose PST files, and also had SharePoint sites. And they wanted to consolidate all of those, and they wanted to house that all in the cloud, and they wanted to do that within Amazon. And the reason for doing that is the same reason that a lot of enterprise companies are looking at moving to the cloud: lowering costs, ease of maintenance, and higher reliability, frankly, with cloud-based instances, rather than having to administer and control and maintain and upkeep servers in the back closet. So they were looking to do this migration, but of course it was very important for them for that data to be searchable. And so they came to us and wanted to make sure that they would have global access for 600 of their employees, And it was also a real big sell for them that the searchability of all the content was going to be within a single pane of glass. They weren't going to have to go to 3 or 4 different places to search this disparate data that they were locating up in the cloud. So they started with us, and they started indexing the data. And as enterprises typically do, they didn't load it all up initially. They took a little bit of time getting stuff up and are still in the process of migrating data up there. But the interesting thing is they're indexing as they go because they already have the solution there ready to go. So as they're loading data up and kind of configuring it and figuring out how they want it presented in the cloud, they're indexing that as they go. And another benefit for them is they can also use X1 Rapid Discovery behind their corporate firewall to index the data that they're still in the process of figuring out how they're going to migrate that up. And then another selling point for them was they had some users who were already familiar with the X1 Desktop Search product who liked the interface, already knew how to use it. So that solved a training hurdle for them there. So here's just a really basic graphic kind of showing to you that X1 Rapid Discovery is going to deploy anywhere your data resides, whether that be behind the enterprise data center or against data that you've stored up in Amazon Web Services. And all of that is accessible via a browser. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to share my screen and show you a demo. So I'll give you a few seconds to let's see. Click the wrong button there. Okay, now I've gone ahead and shared my screen. Live streaming is in process. You should get a pop-up or a notification saying that that someone wants to share the screen with you. So you might need to go ahead and click to join now to go ahead and see the screen. So I'm going to give everyone a second to do that. So again, as attendees of this, it's not going to automatically pop into the slide deck that you were seeing. You're going to need to click through to share that screen. So you should be seeing our Rapid Discovery console, and you should see the. I'm going to take you to the home screen right now. Right now, you're seeing the search screen. Let me just quickly get back to the home screen that users would see when they initially log in. While that refreshes, I guess I can briefly just mention the search screen that we're viewing here. It's divided into 3 separate sections. Over on the left, you see filters that you can apply and different views you can apply against your data. In the center, you've got the different your search results and your ability to do a search against or to inject search terms and do a search against the items, and you'll get the table of results back. And then over on the right, you might need to change your screen resolution depending on how big a screen you're looking at, but you'll see the preview window that we offer. And so this is a rich text preview. It provides keyword hit highlighting, and it also allows you to take some actions across the top on the items. Okay. Took a second there for it to snap in, but now we're looking at the home screen. We'll go back to that screen. Don't worry, I'll show you some searching as we go. Just wanted to show you kind of how users might initially come in and see the interface. So this is the base interface, and it shows we've got a couple of different matters that show the enterprise. These are eDiscovery matters. For the case of this demonstration, we're a widget solution, so we're already being sued twice here, so it's not a great day for us. And we also have an enterprise search defined down here at the bottom. There's not a huge difference in functionality when it comes to searching for enterprise searches or eDiscovery matters. The major difference is eDiscovery matters support a richer set of workflow options if you're doing eDiscovery. But for what I'm going to show you for the demonstration, what you see in the search pane is very similar for the two, but I'll go ahead and click through. on one of the matters to show you that. The first place it'll take me is a dashboard, and it'll show me some thumbnails of some of the various data in there so I can get a feel for what I've got. But I'll click through on the search tab here, and it'll take me to the search pane that we were looking at before. And again, on the left, we've got the different actions we can take, and I'm using a criteria called review. And I can just enter a search term here and quickly look at that search term and click on an item to get the preview of it. And you'll notice on the right we have the preview. We have these post-search actions we can take against an item, and there's some more options here, as well as the ability to tag items, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But right now I can actually click through on the next here and look at the different hit highlights that are occurring in this document and see all the different search results. So I can really interact with the document right here, but I can also do such things as I can open the file or open the folder that it belongs to, or view it within SharePoint, depending on the item that I'm looking at. And so one of the first questions most people have is what kind of search parameters do you support? And I'll switch over to the view mode here just to open up the table filter so I can show that for a little bit. But let me add another search term there. And you can see, so I've done a keyword search and I've done a phrase search, and you can see right here it's already doing hit highlighting in the preview window. We support keyword searching. We support multiple keyword searching. We support Booleans such as and, or not. Advanced Booleans such as pre, near, which lets you search for words within so many number of other words of each other, or even within sentences and paragraphs of each other. We support date range searches and other range searches, and filtering by metadata and more. So just to give you a quick example, I can type in marketing here, and it'll filter down for items that have marketing within, hit the search button, marketing within the name. And there's an example, and I can filter by size. Let's say I only want to look at things that are less than 100,000 bytes, and you can see one of the search results just cleared out right there because it was filtering based on size. And if I take that out, we'll see that search result come right back. So those are some of the ways that you can filter based on searches, and there's a whole host more. Let me dive into there a little bit. One of the ways that you can expose that is by looking over here in the filter category. So the first thing that we have on the top, I can choose to search within a number of different item types. Here's some Exchange item types. I can have some, these are Exchange 365 item types, files, IMAP, SharePoint 2007, and more. Let me just click through SharePoint 2007, and these are items that are within SharePoint, and I can search against those. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, so on an item, I can see a rich preview here, or I can actually tell it I want a contextual preview, and it'll show me that item within SharePoint. So I can see exactly where it is in SharePoint, so I know that's the item I'm looking for, that's what I need, and really interact with it in a very meaningful way. Some other ways I can filter based on metadata here. I kind of already showed you that up here with the name filter, but if I wanted to, I could add those filters down here as well, if that's how I wanted to interact. I can do date-time filters. I can do tagging filters, and so we allow you not only to apply your own tags, but at scan time we'll identify any duplicate items that are detected on indexing, and you can choose to filter based on those. So as an example, I can choose to filter show all documents, show no duplicates, or show only duplicates if I'm interested in understanding what the duplicates are there. I can search by file extension, so I can come in here and I could say, show me the docs, show me Word docs, show me Excel files, or something along those lines. And as I mentioned before, we support over 500 file types here, and you can see you can filter on all of those as you see fit. And then down at the bottom, this is just another one of those advanced workflows you can do within Enterprise Search. When it comes to viewing the data, we let you do what you need to do to view the data in the way that makes the most sense for the data you're trying to review. I'm looking at a table filter right here, which shows me all the metadata in columns, but I might want to switch into a tile mode, which would show me kind of a graphical interpretation of the item along with a quick summary of the items in there. This is a really handy way usually to review email. I've got the preview window on the right, but I can actually rotate that around to the bottom, to the left, to the top. I can also choose to detach it, and this is a really handy way if, let's say, I'm doing dual monitor and I want to review my data that way. I'm going to just close it out and it'll reattach right there. Let me get back to the method I was looking at before. Okay, switch back. Okay, and then for table columns, I can choose, right now I'm only displaying 3 bits of metadata. I can sort the metadata. I can say show me sorted by size ascending or size descending. I can add additional values here. So if I wanted to see the doc type or doc tags, I can add that. I can scroll over here and see it's all the way over on the right. Maybe I want to realign my view and bring document tags over. I can do that. And as a reminder, this is we're acting right now in a web UI, and all this work is being done up against data in Amazon. But it's a very responsive, very rich UI that we provide to the users. So I promised to talk to you about tagging. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So let's say I found this document and I want to do something with it. I've got some tag options right here. These are all admin definable. You can define them however you want. I've got a couple that are set for eDiscovery type actions. And then I've got maybe the IT might want to tag things to archive or delete. So I can highlight an item. I can say let's go ahead and archive that one. And the tagging action will take place immediately, and then if I just click search, you'll see that the tagging should show up. It shows up just in a matter of seconds. Let me just tag that again. All right, well, it's not behaving right now, but tagging does happen nearly instantaneously. You can also take some other actions, not against items individually, but some bulk actions here. You could provide bulk tagging if you wanted to tag a whole bunch of items all at once. And we offer the option to preserve new documents. And what this is if you've got an enterprise search and you want to convert some of the documents into an eDiscovery matter, you've identified them as important or critical to an ongoing compliance issue or investigation, you can export them out of your enterprise search into an eDiscovery matter right within X1 Discovery and then take action based on that. And it'll create a local copy that you can act on apart from the copy that you had for enterprise search. You can also use this functionality to do some maybe some IT activities. Maybe you're cleaning up a file share and most of it's going to be deleted, but you identify a small handful of that you want to archive. You can identify those items for archive by tagging them as archive and then export that search. And then you can take that data that you've identified and archive it in some fashion. Maybe you want to load it up in AWS Glacier or something else. You can definitely do that. So this was a really quick, really fast preview of the search functionality. There are options. There are videos online on our website, www.x1.com, and look for the Rapid Discovery product and videos. And you can see a longer video that kind of goes through a little more detail of the use cases, both for enterprise search and eDiscovery. So pick the one you're interested in. Very quickly, I just want to show you some of the administration. You can come in here and get a feel for some of the information on the case. You can look here. These are the custodians. These are all the people who we've captured information for, and the data sources. And you can see here I've got 46 different data sources, and I can scroll through them. They go from PSTs to files to SharePoint 2007. I can see that I've got some different options up here that are really eDiscovery centric across the top. And then I can go into criteria and I can define the criteria. This was what we were searching in before. We just called it the review search. But I can really customize this however I want as the administrator. And I can define some filters. Maybe I can set some keywords. I could define that I just want terms that match on business or agenda up front. I can say I only want to search in certain item types, certain dates, I can also define more specific filters for email. Maybe I only want certain things with certain subjects. File filters, I only want a given path. Or attachment filters, I may only want a given extension. And so I can define all of those there and really customize these searches for my end users. Now, something else that is pretty unique with our product is we allow you to define some filters up front before you ingest the data on a data source by data source criteria. So if you only want to index PDF files in a given file share, or you don't want to index system files in that file share, or you want to just index recent files, you can define that before ingestion, and as you ingest the items, it'll only index the items that match that criteria. So I could say I only want items that are newer than, say, September 1st, 2012. And then just really quickly, I'm kind of running short on time, and I want to respect your right to ask some questions here. But I'm just jumping to another machine that has our X1 desktop search product installed on it, and just showing you here that not only can you search your own email and files, but you can run a search against the X1 server directly within this desktop search product. So I've gone ahead and searched for business. It's showing me the first 100 results from that, and I can preview these results directly within my desktop product and take action there. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you from the product. I'm going to go ahead and stop the live streaming, and it should take you back to the slides. And I'll give everyone a second to transition over to viewing the slides. But while we're waiting for that, I'll go ahead and pass the slide presentation back over to Eric, and he can talk about what LTech can do for you to get the solution into your hands.
Thanks, Todd. So I just wanted to dovetail off of what you finished with, Todd, which is you were looking at the desktop client tool. And I wanted to go back to something you were talking about in the beginning, which is bringing to light the parallelization that the cloud brings to computing. And certainly being able to do that with X1 Rapid Discovery is quite useful. And I just wanted to bring to the front a few use cases where that can be quite helpful. And certainly one of those use cases is where you have a large amount of data that you want to index. And in those cases, for performance reasons or the rate of change of that data, it might be appropriate to shard that information across multiple X1 Discovery instances and have them participate in a cluster. So that would certainly be one use case, and I think Todd brought that to light. Another one that I wanted to bring forward, though, is a challenge that many organizations today have as globalization continues to impact companies more and more. Is that from a geographical dispersed perspective, you can have part of your organization, let's say on East Coast U.S., West Coast U.S., or abroad in various places. And as Vikram pointed out early in the presentation, and as I'm sure many of you know, with the multiple regions that are available in AWS, having the data dispersed around the world no longer is as big of a challenge as it was. Where that comes into play with enterprise search and eDiscovery is, as a best practice, you always want to have your eDiscovery and enterprise search solution near the information that it's crawling. So obviously from a performance perspective, if you're calling and transmitting index information over long distances, there's latency and performance issues that can come into play. So having an EC2 instances with X1 Discovery installed in different regions around the globe would enable you to index and crawl your data where it sits, and then you would be able to from one location query either the different locations or via the desktop tool. You can actually pull all that together into one pane of glass, which is pretty powerful if you think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about having indexes spread out geographically and having single points of access to all of that from one place. So that's I think that's a strong model. Another thing that always impresses me about X1 Discovery is their licensing model enables you to increase the number of instances that you run X1 Discovery on with no implication, because it's based on document count, not number of instances, which means that empowers you if you want to throw more horsepower at a solution to get better performance, or if you want to shard your data differently, or if you're geographically dispersed, you're not hamstrung to go out and get another appliance. Okay, you can spin up another EC2 instance, and I think we all know what the provisioning speed that AWS brings to the table from that perspective, and you can get to the business of crawling the data where it sits very quickly. One of the things that LTech does as an AWS consulting partner and enabling organizations to get into the cloud is we help companies via assessment of their current infrastructure, if it's rack metal, but also there are some folks that have gone out and attempted to get into AWS initially with their internal staff, and certainly kudos to them for that. We certainly can assist organizations in determining where their data, based on where their data sits, what's the best topology of an X1 rapid discovery deployment, so that for what their core tenets of eDiscovery and enterprise search are. And that might be the sharding of an index due to geographical disbursement. It might be for performance or other reasons, and that's where LTech can bring to bear some resources and experience that will make that the most efficient and robust solution that you can get. Along those lines of assessment, one of the other things that we can do is assist organizations that are getting into the cloud initially, and maybe they're not sure where to start. You know that eDiscovery and enterprise search are part of either your current roadmap or future roadmap. You know that you either need to be in the cloud, or if you're already in the cloud, that your net new initiatives are going to be moving forward. So we can really assist you from a roadmap development perspective, and whether that's getting your dev and QA environments pushed into AWS, or whether from that point, if you're already there, getting your disaster recovery environments put into place, and then finally production. So whether it's forklifting applications or your SharePoint instances, doing the analysis for where your data sits and how best to configure the X1 Rapid Discovery software, assisting you in identifying targets, crawl and recrawl, and performing the analysis and confirmation of those targets and the indexes, certainly able to help you there. As a consulting partner for AWS, we see a lot of companies have already made certainly non-trivial investments in rack metal infrastructure, and rightly so. Folks are trying to get the majority of their investment out. So we're very familiar with companies that already have rack metal infrastructure, want to go to the cloud for net new infrastructure provisions, but then they're in that sort of point where they're looking at a hybrid solution. So one of the other things that X1 Discovery brings to the table is that you can not only run it in the cloud, but you can run it behind your firewall in your rack metal data center, and or both. So for folks that are in a hybrid environment, you've got your X1 Discovery instance up in EC2 for region 1, another instance on EC2 for region 2, and another X1 Discovery install down in your local data center in your hybrid environment. And they can all pull together that information and give it to you in one pane of glass. Pretty compelling. So with that, I'm keeping my eye on the clock. I think we've got about 5 minutes, and I want to turn it back over to Sherry.
Great. Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Todd, for a great overview of how folks should think about how to transform their enterprise search and eDiscovery on AWS. So folks, if you've joined us midstream, we invite you to submit questions. And be assured that if we don't get to your question in our time allotted, we'll follow up with you offline. So we've got some questions as you were doing your demo, Todd, that I'd like to queue up to you. One question is, Can you explain the process of the X1 technology of how it handles records from items maybe without text, or such as maybe it's a TIFF or it's an image-only PDF or sort of other applications? Can you speak to that a little bit more detail?
Absolutely. So we'll run the text extraction process on anything we can. We don't have any built-in optical character recognition software, but there's nothing saying you can't run that on your own against your data if you want to do that pre-ingestion. But no matter what, we always grab the metadata associated with all items. And that's both the kind of global Windows metadata and then in a lot of cases specific metadata to those kind of items. So that means that you're still going to be able to filter based on path, file name, size, file size, date created, date last modified, and things such as that. So you can still, and you can filter based on extension. So you can find all of the items that do have a TIFF file type or so on. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Next question, and I'm going to again point this back to you, Todd. Can you clarify, does the X1 product only work in the cloud?
No, thank you. It works. It works anywhere you can install it, and the fact that it's installable in the cloud means that it's pretty much installable anywhere. So it can definitely work behind your firewall. It can work in geographically remote locations. We don't need direct access to the server, physical access, walk-up access to be able to install it. So if you can remote into a server, whether it be physical or virtual, you can install our product there.
Okay, great. It's great to see lots of questions coming in from to learn more about X1. This question, I'll again point back to you, Todd. How do you deal with encrypted or password protected attachments in the actual tool?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have any cracking technology or anything like that that can be very problematic if you try and automatically crack things that are protected. So we need the things either to be unlocked or given permission in some fashion. There are certain things that there are certain levels of encryption that are still allowed you to index the content. You just maybe they're digitally signed or something like that. But any case where we can't index it, whether it's because it's encrypted, it's password protected, whether one of those rare instances where it might have crashed our text extractor process or anything like that, that all gets logged and usually assigned as metadata against that specific item. So you can filter your search results to find those items. And even in eDiscovery, there's no requirement that you have 100% that your eDiscovery solution is able to index 100.0% of your files. What's important is what that exception list is. So we make it really easy for you as a user to discover that exception list and identify those items that might have been password protected that you didn't even realize were password protected, and then you could deal with those as you see fit. I mean, all of this data is data that you presumably own, so you should be able to unlock it in some fashion, and then you can put it in a new file share or do some other techniques to re-inject it into the index so that it's now searchable across all of your users.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we've got time, I think, for one more question, and I'm going to point this either to Todd or Eric. So if I already have my data or my infrastructure is already in AWS, how hard is it for me to sort of make that configuration of enterprise search, given that it's it's not considered kind of during the initial architecture? So I guess the question is, how do you evolve that?
Okay. So go ahead, Eric.
I'm sorry, Todd. Well, I'll kick off and you can add color. I think it's certainly ivory tower to be in a position where you understand prior to laying out the architecture in AWS where your file resource is going to be, so that you can perfectly plan your enterprise search and eDiscovery solution in step. However, while that's wonderful, that's usually not always going to be the case. So certainly, it's a technology that bolts on to an existing AWS footprint extremely well. and we would have the ability to perform an assessment of what your AWS footprint looks like, configure the crawl targets accordingly, and verify the index post-crawl. So that certainly should not be a barrier to entry. Todd, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we live in a messy world, and we don't always plan ahead. And definitely with LTech and X1, we're here to help you and to rescue you. We know that a lot of corporations probably have loaded data up in the cloud. They're not realizing or not worrying about necessity of enterprise search and eDiscovery. And we definitely want to service those customers. So there's absolutely not a requirement that you've planned everything in advance. As a matter of fact, the first case scenario I mentioned was one where they hadn't planned ahead, but we were able to get them up and running after a total of 4 days. They were very happy and productive.
And that's a fantastic way. Sorry, Eric.
Yeah. I think productive is a great way to finish the webinar, because the overarching theme here is making the workforce for your organizations more productive. And just because you're utilizing the AWS cloud infrastructure shouldn't mean that it takes longer for your organization's resources to get to the information that they need to get to be productive, or that information that shouldn't be exposed in your AWS footprint should remain exposed. So these are things that X1 Rapid Discovery solves very quickly. So hopefully we'll hear from some interested folks, and we can answer some questions on some deeper dives after the webinar.
Terrific. And on that note, that is a great way to wrap up. So folks, please feel free to reach out to LTech or X1. Their contact information is there, and we will send you a link to this recording as well. So on that note, I'd like to thank our partners, X1 and LTech, and thank Vikram for joining us today. That does conclude today's webcast, and we appreciate your time very much. Before you drop off, we invite you to take a very short survey, and we do appreciate your feedback. We do take it to heart. So thank you for your time today, and thank you, LTech and X1.
Thank you.